Good morning, everybody. Can't hear translation.
Good afternoon.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon. Thank you for inviting me back here again this Sabbath. I've been asked to go back over the image of the beast. And maybe the repeating pattern. And I really want to encourage you to just interrupt, shout out, and ask questions. Okay, let's open with prayer. Almighty God in heaven, we thank you for the privilege of working in your vineyard. We ask that your Holy Spirit be with us now and even unto the end. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay. So actually, the image of the beast isn't something that I understand very thoroughly. So it's really basic the way I would present it. So I think the Sunday law teachers have come to consensus. The model of July 18 to December 17 fits best. If you try and put all the Sunday law elements into one date, like July 18, you start to get stuck. For example, only half of the United States is represented on this day. So then you turn to an answer, then you have to say, but the King of the North is only half of America, mega. But I don't see how that can be true because Biden was the King of the North at Pania. But if you take this whole period as the Sunday law, it answers that question without having to change what the King of the North is. Yeah. If you take this whole period as the Sunday law, it answers that problem without having to change what the King of the North is. Because the whole of the United States was represented November 5th. Or if you don't like November 5th, then December 17th, it's fine. The other quick thing, to make July 18 fit, we had to move the test to the loud cry. We have always taught that the test is at the Sunday Law Waymark. And I gave you the reference to the most recent time that I can remember. In Germany in January 2023. When Elder Parminder taught that the test is at Sunday Law, not loud. Someone just sent me a screenshot of another time he taught that. June the 11th, 2019. Part 5. What is the great test? Is that going to pick up? I'm not very good at... What is the great test? Either way.
Can you do a screenshot, then you forward it to me, I send it to the group?
That's a much better idea. Okay, my only point about this screenshot is Elder Parminder is clearly placing the test at Sunday Law Waymark. Okay. If not, take my word for it. Okay, but you don't need to move the test to the loud cry with this model either. You can just leave the test at November 5th voting. So those are the two things we changed to fit into July 18. And that was just a quick summary of what we did last time. Any questions on that? Or you want me to repeat anything?
Regina has a question.
No.
Sorry, I didn't hear.
I'm saying Regina has a question.
Please, fire away.
Stop different. I'm asking, what do you mean by half of USA test? I understand half, but how does that look like?
Half of USA. So these are two separate points. I'll say when I was attacking July 18th, I was saying only half of the USA is represented on July 18th. Just the Republican Party. The Sunday law affects the whole of the United States. So July 18 on its own can't be the Sunday law date. And then I said, but on November 5th, the whole of America is represented, so that must be the Sunday law date. So then, the King of the North was changed from the whole of America to half of America. In order to answer that question. But I'm saying that can't be true because Biden was the King of the North at Penny. So instead of insisting the Sunday law is just one date, in which some things just don't work, if you make the Sunday law this period, then everything works, everything fits. Because on November 5th or December 17th, the whole of America was represented. So that was one separate point. And then a second separate point is all the elders have always put the test at the Sunday law waymark. I mean the mark of the beast test, by the way. And when we saw that the people weren't doing anything on July 18, we said, well, then we'll move the test to the loud cry. And I'm saying, if you use this model, you don't need to move the test to the loud cry. Because there's many problems when you do that. Inconsistency, errors. But if you use this model, sorry, keep interrupting you. If you if you use this model, you can leave the test at Sunday. Does that make sense? I can do it again or answer any other questions. Okay. So, in relation to the image of the beast. Yes. Tell Russell to connect. Russell, can you connect with Joseph, please?
I'm
No,
still
getting you, Joseph.
all right. Again, not clear when you
Okay.
say if you use this model, you cannot move the test forward. And why are you leaving the test on November 5? That's the where we can mark the test, not 18, not December 17, but you have chosen November 5.
Okay. Do I need to, you need to translate that or I just answer?
Answer.
Okay, let me go back to interpretation. Oh, interpret. No. Okay, so the test can't be here or here. Revelation 13 says, the mark of the beast test goes to everyone, rich and poor, rich and poor people, free and bond people, rich and poor, free and grey, rich and poor, free and bond, small and grey. I don't remember, but it goes to all the normal people. So ordinary people like me somehow get tested at the Sunday Law Waymark. And on July 18th, the ordinary people like me were not doing anything. And on December 17th, the ordinary people like me were not doing anything. So we could see the mark of the beast test cannot be here or there. So the people that just wanted to stay with July 18 only, they said, okay, then we're going to move the test to the loud cry. And there's many problems with doing that. Just like there's problems with saying the King of the North is just Mago. If you stick with the original models, it all works fine. You don't need to change anything. And with this model, period of time, you don't need to change where the test is. You don't need to move the test to loud cry with all its problems. You can just leave the test at the Sunday Law Waymark, November 5th. When all the ordinary people were being tested. I could do a whole hour on that. Elder Test said Eden was an election campaign. It was the first test to humanity. So the end from the beginning, parable methodology. The last test is also an election. Elder Tess was getting ready to teach that. That's why she said, at Sunday law, there'll be many people voting, something like that. And I read you that quote last week. Does that make sense? I don't mind doing it again and again. No?
Okay.
There is a question here from Regina. Mm.
So where do you mark the arrival of the test and the end of the test?
Say that again.
Where do you mark the arrival of the test and the end of the test?
The election is the test. You're tested. You mean like a repeating pattern type thing? I'm saying the election is the test. And you're just tested on authoritarianism and patriarchy. Let me go back to the interpretation. Maybe I would answer it the way Elder Tess was about to. On the line of the 144,000, that's the second way mark. So the unsealing starts. Increase of knowledge 2019. Formalization 2021. And you know that this is the test. And this is what you're tested on. And Elder Tess was trying to say January the 6th was that formalization. When the Capitol building was attacked and there was a riot. And Trump and his supporters tried to overthrow the election. So from that event, we know Trump is a dictator. And on July 18, you saw all the manosphere and the patriarchy. So if you're going to go and vote for Donald Trump on November 5th, You're failing the test of patriarchy. Which you saw in July 18. And authoritarianism, which you saw on January 6. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Can't hear you. Yes. Russell, tune into Joseph.
Joseph, you can speak now.
All right, thank you. Yeah, I have a lot of questions. Now, again, you have made me to find another one with
Good.
from what you have just answered. So again, you have on that line you have drawn, you have put January 6th to be the formalization. And if I recall very well, we have been having presentations like Elder Terry did some presentation where she has drawn some a waymark of formalization different from the one you have drawn there. So again, you are not accepting that event which marks formalization, which others have presented. Even not only Elder Terry, even others have presented a different formalization for that one. So how are you reconciling that? Or how can you reconcile that?
Do you need to translate?
Yes. It
Okay, so what are others saying is the formalization? I'm not aware.
Can I say something on that?
Sure.
Okay. From what I'm understanding from Joseph, he's probably is talking about you are talking about the line of the 144,000, of which the formalization is 2021. Yeah. And I think Joseph might be talking about maybe the line of the Levites, which has those smaller waymarks, and among those waymarks there is a different formalization from that one. Maybe I stand to be corrected by Joseph.
Russell needs to tune into Joseph, did you say?
all right. Yeah. Anyway,
Yes, Joseph,
yeah.
getting it.
Yeah, in fact, I forgot. Yeah, I forgot. Let me just ask my question. Yeah. You are saying the test is on the waymark of Sunday law and there and then, and which you mark is to be November 5 because every American participated in the voting. That's what you're saying, right?
Yes, but I will warn you, there's probably no one else that believes that anymore.
Okay. Which implies that although you are saying most of the teachers are in consensus with the model of maybe July 18th, December 17th, you are not. In reality, it's not like that because, like, uh, Ajan was presenting uh, something different from that. Yeah.
Ah,
Yes. Like,
can you tell me
uh,
what?
yes. Like the one you are marking from, for example, 2021 to Sunday law, that is the agitation for the Sunday law. Yeah. It's the agitation. Then Sunday law is a shut door for the previous dispensation. Then at the Sunday law again, at the same time,
Do
is
you
the
need to wait for
beginning.
translation?
I will translate later, maybe.
You will, okay. So this is the agitation, this is the shut door, and that's dispensation. Carry on.
Yes. And Sunday law going forward from Sunday law we mark there. If we mark any date there, uh, it's Boston, like it's the beginning of another dispensation, which implies that the test is forward. It's not on that point. And I would
Say that
love
bit
to
again.
ask.
Just need to-
Sorry.
So Sunday law becomes a Boston for the next dispensation, which
Yes,
means
yes. Like there is a new dispensation which has unsealed there or opened. Yeah. Then there will be an increase of knowledge for that unsealing of the message which has come there, which we can't even understand uh, fully. But we'll come to understand it later when we receive the increase of knowledge on that. Then we come to the Exeter of formalization because he used the repeating patterns. Then after formalization, there we will have a test and a shut door. Yes. So as you are saying, that test which is on the Sunday law there, Waymark, it's not for the Sunday law which has opened. It's the Sunday law, for example, it's a Waymark which has ended. Yes, there is a test there. But for the Sunday law in the latter end period, for example, that line you have drawn is for the 144. Yeah, it's the line of the 144. Previous to the Sunday law Waymark is the 80 then. Yes. And in the early rain, I remember last time you presented, you said there were a test there. We experienced a test because there was increase of knowledge and formalization, then a test which is coming to an end at the Sunday law Waymark. But for the latter end, the Sunday law Waymark is its beginning of that dispensation forward. Therefore, putting the mark of the beast, the test of the mark of the beast on the dot there, which is yes. I think with me, according to what I've learned, is making me failing to understand. And if that is the case, do you mean that everyone who voted for Trump has already received the mark of the beast?
yes.
And those
So
who didn't vote, because you are saying every American should participated, of those who didn't vote.
so I think you should translate all of that before I start answering.
Yeah.
I'll sit down.
They have understood.
Oh, okay. Plus it's on video. You can always go back if you want to just carry on. Okay. Let me tune back into translation. Okay. So I agree with everything you said. To really answer that properly, I would have to go back to those presentations when I was teaching November 5th. If you want, I can do that now. It might take 20 minutes or something. But the mark of the beast is a corporate model. Think 1850. Corporate, a group. So you've got corporate and you've got individual. Example, the Seventh-day Adventist Church as a whole. Just as a single entity, we say it's now shipwrecked, it's lost. But there could be many individuals in the Adventist Church which are saved. And the mark of the beast is a corporate model. It just tells you what's going to happen around the whole country or the whole world. So Americans voted for the beast and received the mark of the beast on November 5th. But individuals can still be saved depending on their individual heart and mind. I use two examples. 1850, the Fugitive Slave Law. Fugitive Slave Act, 1850. You said not everyone voted on November 5th, which is true. In 1850, not everyone came across a runaway slave. So they'll be judged individually. Um, 1888, when the Sunday law, the Sunday Sabbath law, would have been passed, those keeping Sunday would get the mark of the beast. But they can still switch to Sabbath individually before Daniel 12:1. And people that voted for Trump can still change their mind, which would be recorded in heaven. Does that answer that? Okay. Any thoughts on that, Russell?
Yeah.
Joseph, we are getting you.
All right. Yeah. And you are saying now,
And there is
uh,
also a hand from Timoth. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe can we start with Timo, then Joseph? Yeah. Timo, you can go ahead, then Joseph will continue because he has the mic. He can come in at any time.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think I've understood the witnesses that you've given for November 9 as a test. Yeah, that I've understood, and somehow it does make sense. Yeah, but what I would also want to understand is previously, yeah, my knowledge was the Sunday was something that escalates. Yeah, so there's July 18 where we see a test, except this test is only for a section of people, like you said, half of USA. Yeah, and also November 5, which we have another test, but this time looks like a worldwide test. Sorry, a national test, sorry. Yeah, so maybe to like harmonize the two, why can't we conclude to say perhaps it started on July 18 for a section of people, which later with time it accelerates, yeah, to a national test.
Exactly. Does anyone need to translate? Exactly, yes. So if you stick to July 18 only as the Sunday law, you have that problem. But if you take the whole period of time, you have exactly what you just said. Well done.
Sorry, Aaron, just repeat what you just said. I didn't get you.
Anything else? There was another question, I think. Yeah, you want me to repeat?
Yes, repeat what you just said.
So my friend said on July 18, only half of America was represented or tested. So it seems difficult to say that was the mark of the beast waymark. We know the mark of the beast tests the whole of America. Not half. But if you extend the Sunday law period, you can see the whole of America was tested on November 6th. Corporate model. Not every single individual American was tested by voting. Corporate model. And then once you've accepted this, once you've accepted that period, you can leave the test at the Sunday law waymark. You don't have to struggle and say, well, we're going to move it to the loud cry. which brings up many problems. I've tried to teach that as truth, and I can't defend it. It's too many problems. Okay, that's, I think, what he said. There was another question.
If there is no one, can I ask also? Is there anyone with a question before I ask?
Russell, to Joseph.
No, you can go
Okay,
ahead.
maybe can
He
I
has taken my time.
Oh, Joseph, you can now
can I just get
speak.
I've even my thoughts have been disturbed. So you can go ahead as I'm going to bring back my thoughts together.
maybe can I just get some clarity?
Okay, Timothy, go ahead.
Okay, maybe I didn't understand the answer. I'm trying to ask, like, why can't we put November 5 perhaps as a climax? Then we put July 18 as a beginning of that climax test.
Yes. Translate, and I agree. Yes. Log into translation. Okay, so I'll use that question to continue with the image of the beast, which is where I was meant to start. Second selected message is 80.4. The image to the beast is the great test to the people of God before the close of their probation, by which their final destiny is decided, by which their eternal destiny is decided. Eternal. By the way, this is a side point. I'm moving away from this study now, just for a few seconds. Whoever you are, maybe except Elaine, I'm not too sure, but the rest of the movement believe the election was the Sunday law. Even if you think that's the only date, it's still the election cycle. Elders Tess and Pominder both said the next Sunday, the next election, as they were speaking before, the next election cycle is the Sunday law. So you could change it. You could change it correctly and say the next election cycle is your final test. Because that quote tells you the image to the beast is your final test. Because your eternal destiny is decided on that. So this election is our final test before heaven. Heaven is our eternal destiny. Then there can't be another election. Otherwise, the next election would test us again, and actually, that would decide our eternal destiny. So I'm not sure. I'm just guessing. If that logic is correct, the second advent has to be before the next elections, 2020. I could well be wrong. Maybe my logic is just wrong and I haven't thought of something. Or maybe Trump declares some national emergency. And suspends the next elections and we don't get to vote anyway. And time carries on however long without any elections, so without any tests. Okay, that's just a side thought that I threw in. Now I'm going to go back to the image of the beast. So I think I say we all agree. Basically, we all agree, and I agree. But this is the image of the beast set up. If you use Daniel 3, that statue of Nebuchadnezzar is now built. If you use Revelation 13, I think, then a beast is an animal. And the animal now exists. But it doesn't have any life in it. It's a lifeless body that has now been created. Can a lifeless beast do anything? If you've got no life, you can't pass a Sunday. That's another problem with saying July 18 only is the Sunday law. But you can say it receives life November 5th or December 17, or from November 5th to December 17. Doesn't matter. So you see how July 18th alone doesn't work to be the Sunday law waymark. But accepting this period model answers that problem. Because now that it has life, it can do stuff past the Sunday. And then that loud cry, I think you could say that's where it speaks. I could be wrong. But one thing I'm pretty sure about is Elder Parminder says the music and the bowing in Daniel 3 is the loud cry. I don't really understand, but that's, I think, what he believes. I'm not sure I could defend that, but I'm sure he can. Okay, so that's all I've got on the image of the beast. As I said, my understanding is very basic. Yes. Joseph, tune in to, no, go ahead.
So now I can ask, eh? Okay. So looking at what you have explained, you have said July 18 is a setup of the image of the beast.
Can you speak a bit louder, please? Sorry.
Okay, you have said that July 18 is a setup of the image of the beast.
Yes, very good.
Yeah. So
I thought so.
is it
Russell,
is
please
it
tune in to Joseph.
Joseph? Isn't it translating?
Yeah, but you
Okay. Okay. So I think it's him who needs to choose me. It's Aaron. When I'm speaking, he needs to choose me.
I need to choose you. I've never done that before.
Yeah, you need to choose English on the original audio. On
English.
yes. Are
Okay,
you getting me now?
I can hear
Yes.
you loud.
Yeah. So I'll ask first, then Joseph will translate later because you have to switch on to Joseph. Okay. So my question, you have said that July 18, the image to the beast is set up. Yeah. Then there will be that process for it to work. So is
To be
it
crossed.
right? Is it right to say when it is set up, that is the Boston for the image of the beast?
That's the what? The most one.
Like, yes, when it is just set up, yeah. Is it right to say that is the Boston for the image of the beast? And there will be a concord for it. Then finally the Exeter when it speaks. And a shadow for it.
Okay.
So Joseph can translate.
Okay.
Yeah. You can turn to Joseph. Okay.
Russell, tell me when Jody is.
Are you getting me? Yeah.
Yes, Joab.
iripo shauri yako
Did you say
bati
that this is the most one? Russell?
Okay, Joseph is translating.
Oh, still.
Mm. Okay, it's done. So my question was simply, isn't the image of the beast, isn't it supposed to undergo the arrival, which is the setup? Then we have its concord, Exeter, and plus its shadow. When probation closes, then the test for the image of the beast is done.
So then you'd be going to the repeating pattern.
So Aaron, you can choose Joe now again, remember. Mm.
Yeah, you're right. Sorry. I just pressed something by mistake. Typical. Okay, so then you're going to this repeating pattern model. It's quite a strict pattern. You can't just superimpose it onto a different model. As far as I know. So really, the only way you can do that, we already know this is the increase of knowledge on the Sunday law. That is the formalization on the Sunday law. And you explained all this, so I know I don't need to explain that again. But I don't know any way you could say something like unsealing increase of knowledge formalization test on a completely different model. I don't think so. But don't forget, I'm well known for admitting I can't innovate, I can't figure things out, new things myself.
Okay, I was not asking on the top line. Yeah, like where it is set up life and speaking. But I was just trying to ask that, so can we get like the image to the beast? That's all subject to the like the image of the beast. Can it also fit in that model of Boston, since it's a test? Can that test also have its arrival, its concord, its Exeter, and its shuttle? That's what I was asking.
Translate. Okay, so the answer is I don't think so. Because otherwise, what you'd be doing here is agreeing to this repeating pattern and this repeating pattern. That's just classic double test. But then you'd be also saying there's like a hidden repeating pattern inside this one way. In here, you've also got an increase of knowledge formalization test inside a way. So maybe if Elder Tess was here and she saw that, I imagine she would say, well, let's try it out, see if we can get 2 or 3 witnesses. Is there a repeating pattern within this single lane? Or this one, or any one, 1989, whatever. But at the moment, I don't think the movement has any model like that. So for now, I'm going to say I don't think so. Does that help? Does that answer?
Okay. What I meant was like that. The line of the 144,000 there, you have written 144. So what I meant was, is it possible like at that Sunday low waymark? That is this like the arrival, the postone of the image of the beast. Then the increase of knowledge there. Yes, there will be increase of knowledge for that thing that arrived. Then at a loud cry, yes, there is the formalization for that thing that arrived. Now it becomes a test. And the test which ends in Daniel 12:1. That's what I meant.
Okay, translate. Okay. So this is zoomed down to this. And I think you said this unsealing is on the image of the beast. And this Sunday law waymark is the image of the beast. And this Sunday law waymark is the image of the beast. So where's and you said the increase of knowledge and formalization, and you said the unsealing increase of knowledge formalization is on the image of the beast. I don't think that's correct. I think this unsealing is on Daniel 12:1. This increase of knowledge and formalization is on Daniel 12:1. not on the image of the beast. Not, this isn't an unsealing on the image of the beast. Again, it's an unsealing on Daniel 12:1. This is the unsealing on the Sunday law, or the image of the beast. And I don't think nothing's really happening at this unsealing. But this increase of knowledge and formalization is on the image of the beast. Does that make sense? Does that make sense?
Okay. So is that the reason why we mark the arrival of the third angel at 9/11? So
Yes. Good point. Good evidence.
so what the third angel will be saying 9/11 is that the image to the beast will be set up.
Yes.
And when we reach at the Sunday law, we have the arrival of the empowerment, and the empowerment is that the image of the beast is here.
Yes.
Okay. So s- s- so the 3E also, which is saying the image of the beast is here, isn't it supposed to have a 3E is the arrival of the empowerment? Then the increase of knowledge is the increase of knowledge on the empowerment. Then there is the formalization of the empowerment, which is the loud cry. Then, yeah. So isn't the 3E, which we are saying it's the arrival of the image to the beast. This is why it becomes the 3E, because the image is there now.
Yes.
Now, won't the 3E also, which is addressing the arrival of the image of the beast, won't it have like an increase of knowledge for the 3E? Then the formalization for the 3E, which is the loud cry, which will be dealing with the image of the beast, which is there now present.
Okay, do you need to translate? Okay. So what you've done is combine two different models with similarity. So as you have said, and I agree, this test is a shut door on that dispensation. This test is a shut door on the image of the beast classes, messages. Using the repeating pattern. And then using the repeating pattern, this dispensation is all about Daniel 12:1. Okay, but I've said the repeating pattern is very narrow and strict. Increase of knowledge, feminism, formalization, radical. The repeating pattern picks one doctrine out of about 20 or 30 that we were actually studying in those years. As we said last week, in these years, we were still unpacking 2014. We were still unpacking 1996, except 1989, lots. That doesn't mean we put them all in the repeating pattern. So when you use repeating pattern language like unsealing increase of knowledge, you do have to stick to the rules that it is on Daniel 12:1. In reality, we'll be unpacking any waymark in the past, including Sunday. I think I'll leave it there. It's too complicated. Does that help, or does that help, or am I wrong? What do you think?
With me, you can continue.
Speak up.
With me, you can continue unless others have questions.
Okay, any other questions? Russell, please listen to Joseph.
Yes, we are getting you.
Yeah. First of all, are you not interpreting prophets literally, like you're just getting literal, then you apply it literally? Yeah. And again, our models, for example, do we have just one model of understanding a certain waymark or a line? Like I can give an example. If we use a model where we have learned that a waymark has a cause and effect, just one waymark. Not disagreeing like November 5 to be insignificant, but that November 5 is also significant. Even December 17 is significant. Even July 18 is significant. Now, if you apply the principle of cause and effect of the waymark, can that work on those dates you have highlighted on top there? Before I put another question, I finish my question. Maybe if you can tackle that one.
Okay. I'm not good on cause and effect. Oh, I need to select translation. But I know someone who is. And I have a lot of faith in this person. I work with them, the movement. And they mention this quite a lot in our forum. And my friend mentions cause and effect quite a lot in our forum. And I think they say Elder Tess taught that in the 2016 election, Ipsos, it was actually November 9 in 2016, the election. (2016) was the cause. And in 2016, this was December 19. And this was the effect. So I don't know much about it, but I trust this person. So for now, that's the way I would answer that. Let me go back over these messages, see if there's anything else interesting. English. 1 second. English. Done. Okay. Can't hear me.
Can I be wrong if I say July 18 is the cause of maybe November 5, which marks that this is the cause and effect on one way mark, just one way mark. I'm not standing on the point that the July 18 is just a point alone. Yeah, because that's where you are making a lot of emphasis. Like if somebody says just let's take July 18 alone. Now, I'm not with that mind now. Me, I'm getting everything like you have put on the board. July 18, November 5, December 17. Now, I'm saying if we use the principle of cause and effect, can it be wrong if I say July 18 is the cause of either December 17 or November 5, and that would be only on one way mark? But can I be wrong if I do that?
Translate.
Yeah, ili pusho lyakwe bati kushe kuti naba wakuluba nga chakwe bati nabula July 18 kuti bomfye.
So the answer is I don't know. Oh, language. So the answer is I don't. So the answer is I don't know. As I say, apparently Elder Test taught cause and effect here. But I can see what you're saying, cause and effect, or effect. But I can see what you're saying. Now this looks like it's a cause. And this or both could be an effect. But still, the actual answer is I don't know. Because I think I said about 50 million times, I'm just not good at figuring new things out for myself. I can't innovate. Sorry. Okay, Russell, please tune back into Joseph.
Yeah, thank you. So that's the reason why I have said that is because it is the same person you are quoting, like I can say, or the test, who has taught us that as a movement at the same time, that there is, you can use a principle of cause and effect to understand the waymark itself. And according to my understanding also, if you say, because that line you have drawn on top there is just a part, I don't know if it is the line of the 144, that principle you have magnified, that one on top.
Yeah.
You have
That's-
cut it on the line
Yeah.
of the 144.
Yeah, it's just the Sunday
Yes.
law. Yeah.
Yes. It's just the Sunday law waymark. And if I can agree, I can put it like using that principle, July 18 is the cause, and either November 5 or December 17 is the effect, just on a single waymark. And the test again has taught us that just like we do have in every dispensation, we can apply the principle of repeating patterns, either on the line of the Levites or on the line of the Nethanim or on the line of the 144. The only line which I have not seen the repeating patterns so far is the fifth line, like the line of the institutions. Yeah, that's where Acts 27, I have not seen like the repeating patterns. But on these other lines, the line of the 144, you can apply the principle of repeating patterns. And on the line of the Nathanim and the Levites. So why can, to me, if I take July 18 as the cause and December maybe or November 5 as the effect, it's just one line. Then if I put the repeating patterns, that will be Boston.
What would be
And
Boston?
that is the Sunday law waymark.
Yes.
And yes, and that is if I put another model, which is the agriculture model. We have from 2001 to Sunday law waymark is early rain, and there are repeating patterns there, which is 2001 is Boston, then 2019, oh, sorry, yes, it's Boston. Then 2019, it's increase of knowledge, that is Concord. Then 2021, it's Exeter, which brings us to shut door on the Sunday law waymark. And again on the Sunday law waymark, which is the latter rain period to ripen the fruits. Because there is no harvest. If you tell me that in Sunday law waymark is where the harvest is happening, I don't know how you can explain the model of agriculture. To me, model of agriculture fits in 2001 to Sunday law is early rain. Then Sunday law to close of probation is latter rain. And in latter rain period, there is an increase of knowledge. Oh, sorry, there is a sealing of the message and the increase of knowledge. Then the formalization, which is Exeter, which will bring us to the shut door of Daniel 12 verse 1. Same in the harvest. But how you are not, to me, I'm failing to understand you on those points where you you bring in to say the image of the beast is just complete at the Sunday law and the test is complete there. And this quotation you gave us, 2SM, if we read the context of that one, I read it. Ellen White is answering a question about Anna Philip, who was placing the Sunday law or the test after the COP.
Yes.
Then Ellen White was refusing to say, no, that's wrong. If you believe in me, you can't say Anna Philip is correct, placing the test or the image of the beast after the COP. Then she says, as you said, the conclusion of that quotation to say, no, the test is before the COP. And that doesn't imply that it is before the Sunday law, because the Sunday law is the image of the beast. The test, the great test, is the image of the beast. I don't know.
Do you need to translate all of that?
No.
I don't mind. Okay. We're using two different models, or maybe even three. But anyway, the repeating pattern is a very narrow, restricted. Oh, hang on, interpretation. We're mixing up. We're putting together two different models when you do that. One model is the repeating pattern. And the other model is Ellen White quote. And I'm going to say she talks realistically about what actually happens in real life. Okay, so in real life, you're right. And Ellen White is right. In reality, we're going to be looking back at 2024. In reality, we might be looking at 2001. So that we can understand the east wind at Daniel 12. In reality, we were looking back at 2014, 1996, etc. Elder Test was. (1888) model. In reality, they would be talking all about the Sunday law here. They'd be saying to the Nethinim, which makes a difference, different group, the seventh day is the Sabbath to the Lord thy God. So that's real life in Ellen White. The repeating pattern takes a very narrow, restricted perspective. And out of all the things that are happening in real life, maybe 20 different things, the repeating pattern only tells you about one thing. And that's an unsealing increase of knowledge formalization on Daniel 12.
No.
That makes sense? What do you think? Russell, can you hear Joseph? If not, can you tune in?
Yeah, I'm saying the model you are using on the repeating pattern and the model Arjan is using the same, both you are saying you are using, if we can use repeating pattern, but how you are explaining the repeating pattern is different. And I don't know how I can reconcile the two concepts. Yeah. Yeah. And both you are interpreting what the messengers have taught. And I don't know who is interpreting them correctly.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where the problem with me. Yeah, I've come to understand. That's where the problem is, because you are not refuting or denying the repeating patterns. You are admitting, but how you are explaining them, that's to me, I'm failing to grasp or to reconcile or with the, like I've given example of Ajahn, how he is explaining the repeating pattern, and both you are quoting the messengers. So I don't know how to reconcile these two opinions or minds.
Is it easy to tell me what Arian is saying, or would it take too long? Because I don't know.
Ian is saying, like, in simple way, like uh, the repeating patterns, like when we read Sunday law, there is a shut door of the previous dispensation. And again at the Sunday law mark, there is unsealing of the message pointing to the shut door on Daniel 12 verse 1. And in that period, there is an Boston, Concord, and Exeter, then test and shut door. Yeah. Now, you, y- y- your repeating pattern, how you are explaining them, that's where I'm failing to. to,
So
to
if you, what you just said, Arian says, I agree exactly the way you
Mhm.
just explained it. So if
Okay.
Arian explains it better than me or easier than me, then just listen to him. Because what you just said, I'm in full agreement.
But the problem again comes where how you explain the waymark of the Sunday law. You are denying that the Sunday law, there will be a loud cry for that message which unsealed on the Sunday law waymark. Because on the Sunday law waymark, Ajahn said there is a shut door for the previous dispensation, and the unsealing of the next dispensation, which will have a loud cry, and the shut door there at Daniel 12 verse 1, which I'm agreeing to say, if we can agree to say July 18 to July 17 is the Sunday law waymark, which is Boston, again, which is a shut door. Yeah, it can be better to me, that I can understand that, whereby we will have to have an increase of knowledge after that, then the Concord, then Exeter, which is loud cry. But at the same time, it's a shut door for this previous dispensation, which started from 2001 to the Sunday law waymark.
I agree with all of that. What I'll do, I'll ask Russell if he can see something that I'm not seeing. Because from what do we need to translate? We haven't translated in about 10 minutes.
All right, sorry. Okay. If ninge pusharaso.
You can choose him as a translator.
Yes. Okay, so you've given your question? Oh, you don't need to translate your question. Okay. Basically, you said Aryan seems to be explaining the repeating pattern different to me. But when you described how Aryan teaches it, seems to me like it's exactly what I'm saying. I agree with Aryan. Or I agree with the way you represent it, Aryan. Because I haven't watched Aryan for myself. I don't know if this helps. As I said, there might be 20 different doctrines and things going on in any one dispensation. This repeating pattern, when he singles out one of those doctrines, but the other things going on will a lot be to do with the Sunday law in 2024. (1888) model. There's not only our internal doctrines going on that we're learning, there's also a message to the Nephilim. We told you so. We told you there's going to be a Sunday law. And a year or two ago, it happened. So we're going to send 300 people out to all your churches to explain the Sunday law, Waymark, in the past. But that's a message to the Nephilim. It's a different story than the repeating pattern. Okay. Anyone want to contribute? Any thoughts, questions?
Yes, Gatile, you can go ahead with your question.
Can't hear you.
All right.
There's
Can
someone.
you connect to Joseph?
No,
please?
before that, there's someone with a question.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, I think maybe if I'm getting Joseph correctly, I'm not sure if you have addressed this because I had lost internet for a few minutes. But I think he's complaining about you specifically just placing the test at the Sunday law. And then not seeing maybe the test of the Sunday law at the loud cry. Because we had Arian, like he's saying in the morning, and that's what he was doing. But on top of that, I think I was just maybe trying to clarify what Joseph's problem might be. He would say if I got his problem correctly. But having said that, I think from your last presentation, this would be the second thing on top of just that little clarification, maybe. So last Sabbath, I think you thought that you don't quite agree with Elena. By her placing the Sunday law in 2025. But I also think, to be fair to her, I think you'd agree with me that her primary focus has been on the institutions. So what leads her maybe to place the Sunday law in 2025 is just looking at the institutions that govern the democracy of America. To say when the Sunday law test hits, those institutions have been shipwrecked. They've failed to protect American democracy. They've failed to protect America for what it was designed to be. Using the concept of Acts 27, the ships. So I think, to be fair to her, I believe at some stage, as we mark the Sunday laws, wherever we are marking them, we have to at some stage answer her concerns of the shipwreck, the institutions. How do you address her line of institution to say, for her, the institution have failed during the certification of the election? That's the last point where the democracy could have been sort of preserved, or the shipwreck avoided. So if we understand her model quite correctly, she goes to the last point where democracy could have been saved, but even at that last point, democracy was not saved. So Donald Trump just went through every process until the very last process. So I think we need to, I think what I'm saying is, if you don't agree with her concept, then I think we need to also but address her idea of the shipwreck of the institutions in our lines at the Sunday law. And personally, I'm not saying I agree with you. I'm just saying to be fair to her.
Yes.
Unless maybe okay. Unless maybe I didn't understand her model correctly.
Okay. So Eleanor says Sunday law is January, is it 20 or 21? I just got a mental block.
Yeah, I think it's January 20 certification. Is it? Yeah, I think it's 20. Yeah.
And she said, no, January 20.
Yeah, I think January 20, 2025.
And she says that's shipwreck because the institutions are now shipwrecked. So I'm going to work the concept of shipwreck backwards from here. The institutions did nothing wrong here. The institution of America did nothing wrong here. Once Trump won the election, you can't get to here and say, the institutions can't get to here and say, sorry, Mr. Trump, you won fair and square. But we're not going to confirm you or whatever, because we think you're a dictator. And we don't want to shipwreck America. Because you won here, that would be illegal. That would be a coup. And actually, that would be the institution behaving like a dictator. And not accepting the results of a free and fair election. Exactly the same story here. If the Electoral College didn't confirm his win, as they say, we, the institution, don't want to be shipwrecked. Then that would be an illegal and dictatorial coup. By the institutions. This is where America was shipwrecked. When the people voted for a known dictator. So they shipwrecked America. The people shipwrecked democracy in America. This wasn't shipwreck. For all the obvious reasons, nothing happened to America here. Yeah. They just celebrated that Trump was going to be their presidential candidate. So what you'd have to do to stick to what you'd have to do to stick to what you just explained is say the institution acted illegally here. And then you're forced to say, because Trump didn't really win, and what's that called? And what's that called? That's called a conspiracy theory. Which we did away with in the summer of 2019, tested. So that's why I don't consider Elena's message. Second reason, Elders Tessin, Pominda, and the movement as a whole they said the Sunday law is the election cycle. I'm doing this in red because I believe Elena is wrong. She says the Sunday law started in January 2025. And is a period of time until I don't know when, probably she might say when the east wind attacks or something like that. But it's June 2025 today, I think. We are well out of the election cycle. Which means, according to Elders Tessin Parminda, we are well out of the Sunday law waymark. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I think it does because I think you're simply marking the shipwreck on November 5. That's what you're the shipwreck of the institution. So I think maybe I think I'll just say further light on the issue would continue to develop so that we can understand that we mark correctly as we move. But anyway, so but in your opinion, what do you think the certification of the election meant? I mean, what's the purpose of it? And even the electoral college, how do you understand those two things? What do they mean? Why are they there? Maybe if maybe they don't seem to be any of significance once the elections has taken place, what are they used for?
I think I'm going to say I don't really know. I think if you asked other speakers and members in the movement, they would understand the electoral process and politics and the message better than me. So I can only answer really simply, like in one sentence. December 17 is just a confirmation of what happened on November 5th. But again, there may be much more significance and depth to it than I can understand.
All right, no, thanks.
Okay, any thoughts or questions? I'll stick with that.
Hello, Aaron. So, I'll give you 10 minutes, like, to conclude. Mm.
Okay, the conclusion. The thing on my mind right now.
Okay, yeah, you can share as conclude. Yeah, you can share your thoughts. Mm.
So I'll just wrap up now. I'll conclude the last few minutes. I hadn't thought about, when you gave me Elena's thoughts on shipwreck, I worked it backwards and ended up here. And I just did that spontaneously today. I didn't think about that before. I just did it to answer the question. I hadn't thought about it before. But it brings me back to November 5th, being a significant date for Kimberley. Democracy shipwrecked. Which is what I taught in my original November 5th classes. Then when I taught, we moved the test to the loud call. I came across so many problems and questions that I couldn't answer. Like I said, I can't teach that anymore. And as the days and weeks go by, I thought, so where is the test then? And I had to say, well, actually, the only test could possibly be November 5th. So without intending to, I've gone back to November 5th on that one too. Try to understand King of the North is only Mega. when I tried to teach that, I got the question about Biden being the king of the North penny. And I couldn't answer it, so I had to drop that the king of the North is Mega, only Mega. Which brings you back to November 5th again. This is where the whole of America is represented. Okay, any thoughts? It really is. Yeah, yeah, different.
East forward or backward? Well, that's when Raswas connected. I'm saying, so with you, is July 18 insignificant? Or if it is significant, also, what is that significant to you look like? And if it is the image of the beast setup, how does that image of the beast look like to you? Because all the models, they are making you to just come to the center. And the reason why you can take that one, July 18, even December 17, the center is just November 5, according to your reasons of which you have explained.
Translate.
Yeah, chirepirulo kwa bati kuli iwe Aaron July 18 ile naikwata obukankala nangutai
Okay. July 18 is still as significant as the other two waymarks. Oh, translation. This is the Sunday Law story or waymark. And Sunday Law or the image of the beast. Yeah, they're not exactly. The Sunday Law and the image of the beast are not exactly synonymous. Sunday Law is the mark of the beast. And the image of the beast, simply put, is church and state, according to Ellen White's model. But the image of the beast and the mark of the beast is exactly the same story. Two parts to the same story. Ellen White model. Church and state unite to form an image to the beast. Papacy. Then they pass a Sunday Law, which is the mark of the beast. So it's the same story. In the beginning, patriarchy, dictatorship. I do want to explain that probably other speakers say something completely different, and I'm always open to Go ahead. And I'm always open to being wrong.
Okay.
I would love that to be correct because I think Elder Parminder's teaching that.
Therefore, ukulondolola bupali abantu
I'm not sure if I'm right or not. I can't remember what he's taught. Oh, language. Right, Sonny, be with you in a minute. But the fact is, you can't get away that Biden was the king of the North, Italian. You also can't get away with how uncomfortable I feel if Parminder is teaching that. I think he is, and I'm saying no, it's not. By the way, Parminder doesn't mind if you disagree with him. He knows it's nothing personal. Okay, but so July 18th is clearly the beginning of the Image of the Beast story, which means it's the beginning of the Mark of the Beast story, Sunday Law Waymark. I guess that's the answer. That's how it's still significant. I am not an expert on July 18th. So we keep using the repeating. Do you want to translate that? I'm not interested. So would you say we came into Concord on the 2014 Sunday Law in 2018? When would you say the priests came into Concord on their Sunday Law Waymark? Translate. Okay, I guess I did answer that. That's still fully significant as the beginning waymark of the story of the Sunday Law or the Image of the Beast. Okay, so you referred us to this model. Where you've compared the priests to the Omega of ancient Israel. And you said they were in the upper room in Concord. And that lines up with 2020. So if you compare it to the line of 144,000, I think you'd have to do that. Between 2009 and Sunday. I'm not sure if that bit's correct. I've got a mind. Oh, you can't even see it. Yeah, it's difficult for me unless I draw out all 5 waymarks. But basically you're saying in 2020 we were in the upper room. And so when is that for the line of 144,000? Yeah, I think I've done this wrong. I'll leave it there just in case, but I'll put a cross. Because that's the shut door for the priests. I'm thinking that's Daniel 12:1 for the line of 144,000. That would be second advent. So that would be the increase of knowledge after Daniel 12:1. Anyway, I would need to draw them out properly. Sorry. And I think you said to wrap. I don't mind doing it. And actually, I think I misunderstood your question because you can't be asking. Yeah. Do you want to? Like, are we done for time, or do you want me to wipe the board and do that properly? Yeah. Okay. Okay. In that case, shall I pray? Okay. Let's pray. Almighty God in heaven, we thank you for your Holy Spirit and ask that it will be with us even unto the end. In Jesus' name, amen.